Okay, inspire, enrich, engage. I have with me Katherine Lang, who is the co-resurrector, I'll say, of the historic Beaufort History Museum. Katherine and cohorts basically took a museum that had gone awry, was in storage, convinced the city, which owned the few assets of the museum, to let them set up. And now they're operating with a wonderful small museum about the history of Beaufort in downtown Beaufort at the Arsenal. And the Beaufort History Museum is a participant along with one of 15 organizations collaborating for the South Carolina Humanities Festival on June 9th to 11th. And I wanted Katherine to tell us a little bit about what each of the organizations that is participating is going to present something, is going to highlight something. And so I want to hear about what the History Museum has planned.
Well, we really have two things for people to come and see that don't know us. And we are working right now on a reconstruction exhibit, which is really the most ambitious exhibit that we have tried to put together so far. And we've been talking to a number of historians, Larry Rowland, Brent Morris, Michael Bulwer Moore, who is the new director of the African American Museum that's going in Charleston, and also a descendant of Robert Smalls. Mm-hmm. A number of people here who are descendants of people who were prominent during Reconstruction. And we are putting together an exhibit about this because Beaufort's rather unique in terms of the Reconstruction era, because we were not razed or destroyed like so many parts of the South were. When Reconstruction began, actually it began during the war here. It began really with occupation, and then it also lasted longer here than anywhere else, partly because there were so many Gullah people who had been brought in as slaves who were still here, and new people who came in once with emancipation, mm-hmm. that they didn't have to rebuild physically. They could just go ahead, and they had self-determination, and they could actually thrive.
You know, one of the presidential candidates who can remain nameless said that candidate felt sorry for African Americans during Reconstruction.
Yes.
Couldn't have been more wrong.
Couldn't have been more wrong. And I have to say, our exhibit, this is a preview of the exhibit. It won't be the complete exhibit because it's a big thing. It's really kind of an organic thing that's going on, and it will grow. But actually right now, we're looking for people who have artifacts or stories that have been brought down through the generations, to share them with us that we would like to add into the exhibit as we go along. So if you've got something at home that you want to share, a good story, let us know.
Yeah, you know, Reconstruction is some of the blank pages in history books.
That's right.
Because it's been a difficult subject for people to talk about.
Well, it's also been talked about very incorrectly, too.
That is true.
Yeah.
And so there's a movement around the country. Columbia just had an event.
Yes.
I think we're going to hear some positive news from the National Park Service about Reconstruction.
Good.
Very shortly, as you
Actually,
know.
we're in contact with Paige Miller. Mm-hmm. As Paige Miller is another historian that we've been talking to, and she's been very involved with that, yes.
Yeah, she's leading our effort to do a permanent what we call a reconstruction hub.
Right.
So, you know, you're on the front end, more power to you. It's a very complicated subject. It's certainly worth many of the stops, taking time for those who come.
Oh, yes.
And the Humanities Festival, I remind everybody, is open to everybody.
Right.
It's free. We want as many Beaufort people as people from coming.
It's one good time to come to the museum because you won't have to pay. And we also have, not only will we have the Reconstruction exhibit preview, but we also have the context for that. The museum as a whole tells a story because, of course, Reconstruction didn't it didn't occur in a vacuum. It was all the things that led up to it are important too. And so the museum as a whole tries to tell the overall story of Beaufort and give a little bit of context for this.
Cool.
This exhibit.
Very exciting, the Beaufort Humanities Festival, June 9th to 11th. The Beaufort History Museum will be participating. Thank you, Katherine.
Thank you, Billy.